Good evening, members of the Commission, Director Hicks, Chief Sir, and members of the department. Is it Commander Korea these days? Congratulations. I come to you as a member of the National Lawyers Guild, and I have a statement from the Guild that I will not read. But I also come to you as a member, as a person with 30 years in the field of police accountability. I started in 1983 at the Office of Citizen Complaints and went from OCC to the City of Berkeley, then to the City of San Jose. I'm now a consultant in the field and I'm here to speak to you about my experience with taser deployment in San Jose. I think that the decision to deploy tasers is a very complicated decision. There should be careful guidelines in place for taser use, and I've reviewed your guidelines, and I think they're a good start if tasers were to be deployed. Just a couple of suggestions about the guidelines. They do not specify any required reporting that I saw anyway. If tasers were to be adopted in San Francisco, I recommend that there be careful monitoring of taser usage by officer and unit as well as department-wide. There should be regular 6-month taser usage reports that should be made to the Commission and to members of the public. There should also be independent oversight of taser usage by the Office of Citizen Complaints. A couple of other things that I saw that I didn't see are that tasers should not be used on people who are riding bicycles. They can fall and hurt themselves or die. They shouldn't be used on people who are near some kind of a high ledge because people have been tasered and fallen. And also, a lot of people who have used after tasers have been deployed have been people who were high on drugs or alcohol, and I don't see that addressed in your guidelines. Supervision is extremely important. I know that the Sheriff's Department require at least that a sergeant be available or a supervisor be available or be there when tasers are used. I saw that in your guidelines that you require officers to call an ambulance if they anticipate that they may be using a taser. I think they also should be required to call in their sergeant or their supervisor. It has been reported that often tasers are overused when they are initially deployed. This was the case in San Jose. In 2005, during the first year, tasers were used 172 times. In 2006, 232 times. And in 2007, 240 times. These were the years that regular use of force or taser reports were issued, and those were the only years I have numbers for. I think if tasers are going to be used, they should not be used very often. There are a few fallacies regarding the efficacy of tasers. One is that they save lives. They do not. I was asked by Commissioner Marshall a while ago, wouldn't it be better to be shot with a taser than with a gun? I think this is a really good question and one that members of the public often ask when discussing tasers. I think that looking at the number of times that tasers are used helps to answer that question. As the numbers bear out, tasers are used far more often than a gun would be used. It's also important to understand that officers are taught that tasers are not to be used in deadly force situations because tasers are not always effective. If officers' lives or the lives of a member of the public is endangered, officers are taught to use deadly force. Now I see in your guidelines that you say that in deadly force situations that tasers should not be used unless another officer has a gun trained or a lethal force weapon trained on the person. I think that's a lot of planning to go through in a lethal force situation. And we both know that lethal force situations are scary situations, they happen quickly, and I think that trying to plan that and use it in a lethal force situation is not very realistic.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm sorry I have to meet the next person. We only have a few minutes left. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I have to move to the next person. Sir?
I wish that you had said earlier that there were going to
I've
be
been saying
timelines.
it